Well, we have some news, guys. Now, the Eagles have finally hired their linebacker coach, a potential free agent that could come with him. And we're going to be talking about a lot of the news the past 5 or 6 days of the leaks of Shawn Desai and how disconnected the defense was, and how a certain veteran player on this team stopped talking to Desai during the year because no adjustments were made, and a lot more to go after here regarding the Philadelphia Eagles and still building this coaching staff. And this is one of the positional coaches at linebacker that has no connection to Vic Fangio whatsoever.
We better turn around. Because I've seen enough horror movies to know any weirdo wearing a mask is never friendly.
So let's cut to the chase of the linebacker position, where Howie Roseman seemed to have been challenged at his press conference with Nick Sirianni, and pretty much Howie Roseman stating, I don't put much into, people are saying I don't put too much attention to linebackers, like it was a challenge, like a lot of big changes are going to be made. The philosophy is going to change for the linebacker spot for the Philadelphia Eagles, hopefully. But now hiring, and obviously, first of all, missing out on Mike Caldwell, which I think was the Eagles' second option at that position, where, Mike Caldwell had some roots with the Philadelphia Eagles, was a player here in the late 90s, and became, got to Andy Reid's staff and did a really good job with Tampa Bay as a linebacker coach to, do a good job with Levante David and Devin White, producing those guys really well. And now taking that linebacker coach role with the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, the Eagles did sign the linebacker coach Bobby King from the Tennessee Titans. Now, Bobby King has 12 years of experience at linebacker coach, no connection to Vic Fangio whatsoever, but a big connection to Nick Sirianni, where they did work together for the Los Angeles Chargers from 2014 to 2016, which is really interesting. So, I mean, there's only so many people that Vic Fangio can get here that he knows. Probably one of the very couple coaches that are not no connection to Vic Fangio whatsoever. But the one word I've been saying here is experience, experience, experience. And I think that's what you need. I don't mind young coaches, but it seems like offensively, it didn't make any adjustments, and defensively, there was no other coach that can help make adjustments as well to the defense. And positional coaches are already worried about producing the guys on the field, and hopefully, these practices do change. And Bobby King has done a good job over there with the linebackers. Not even just that, but could entice a free agent linebacker to the Philadelphia Eagles. And Aziz Al-Shaair, which he had a monster season with the Tennessee Titans, 163 tackles and 2 sacks. Fantastic job. Is an athletic freak of a monster. He is, like I said, 26 years old and is a free agent. And yes, there are other guys available, like Willie Gay is going to be available. Andrew Van Ginkel at 29 is going to be available. Was successful in Vic Fangio's scheme at Miami last year. Patrick Queen is probably going to be a big bid war for him. But this could lure Aziz Al-Shaair to the Philadelphia Eagles, and you never know what you can have, man. I mean, you know what I mean? You sign a 4-year deal, ink that up and get somebody in here. How much he's going to cost? Well, I don't know. He's an athletic freak, made a lot of tackles last year, and yes, the tackles. I know Nicholas Morrow came in with a lot of tackles too, 116 tackles, and these guys are making tackles past the first down marker, so I get it. But can get pressure, can line up anywhere as an outside linebacker, inside linebacker, can play both spots really well. And you know what? I think this would be perfect for us, and getting that guy that we really need. And on top of that, going to the draft, and I would double down at this position. There's no doubt about it. Give Nakobe Dean some competition. Obviously, if you sign a free agent, it's no competition. This guy's starting if you pay him a lot of money. But I would draft more competition parts to the linebacker spot. And, if they do that, double down there, I think the Eagles will be set for a bit. And they'll have a monster athletic freak at that position. I think that's what we need. And, we went after way too many free agents. We had 1-year deals with Zach Cunningham, 1-year deal with Nicholas Morrow. Nakobe Dean couldn't stay healthy. Hurt in the offseason, missed a lot of valuable time, was on the IR 2 times, which was way too much. But I'm pretty excited about this Bobby King move. I think it's going to work out for us. And like I said, experience is the key. I'd rather get some veteran, grizzled veteran type positional coaches that are really going to ramp up these positional groups. And hopefully the offseason does change. Hopefully they bring back minicamp. Hopefully the practices are more demanding and much harder at times. Since we heard that the Eagles practices are way too comfortable and there's just not enough there. Speaking of, what Javon Hargrave said about, from the Eagles to the 49ers, and not just he talked about it, Sidney Brown has talked about the practices and everything like that. So things have to ramp up. The offseason program definitely has to change. The way Nick Sirianni does things definitely has to change. And getting more prepared. And, we need the right players for Vic Fangio's scheme. And this guy, freak athlete that he is, could be the perfect fit in Philadelphia. And I'm pretty excited. So definitely mark this guy as a candidate in free agency to sign with the Philadelphia Eagles, especially with Bobby King coming in as the inside linebackers coach. It should be a lot of fun. So we'll see what happens with that. Now we're going to go into, obviously, some of the other stuff with Shawn Desa and what happened last year. A lot of leaks came out the last 5-6 days. I want to make sure I was getting all my information there, with Mosher saying a lot of things. Report that Shawn Desa was unyielding in his demands, refused to adjust for his players, and things got so bad at least one veteran player stopped talking to Desai entirely, okay? This is on Nick Sirianni at the end of the day. For firing Desai, put him in the booth, really not even firing him, putting in Matt Patricia, that became worse over time. I mean, Desai didn't deserve the Medal of Valor for what he did, but they were only giving up 22 points a game to Matt Patricia's 27 plus, even more than that. Even the last 7 weeks were a damn nightmare, okay? But this is a perfect example why Nick had so much control. And Howie Roseman kind of said at his press conference that, he came up to me with the argument for Shawn Desai. I let him do what he had to do. I made the final decision. I let him make the final decision, and we got it done. I don't know if I believe that too much. Because why is Brian Johnson getting so many interviews? I understand he hasn't been hired yet, but it's starting to show Nick was a little too conceited, a little too cocky. Brian Johnson's getting all these. Everybody around the league knows who ran the offense for the Eagles. Everybody knows. And it was Nick Sirianni. It was Nick Sirianni's game plan. And these coordinators were just piggybacking. But how much? We never saw a full game from Brian Johnson. Even Alex Tanney left the Eagles as a quarterback coach and is going to the Colts to be with Shane Steichen. Shane Steichen wanted him so bad, he got Alex Tanney. So what went wrong? Nick Sirianni took all the control when it came to the quarterback, when it came to quarterback play, when it came to play, design, everything possible. Nick Sirianni, it just shows that Nick just had way too much in control. And honestly, I think, like I said, he got cocky, he got conceited after that 22 Super Bowl. If we can get here like this, I'll take some things from Shane Steichen's playbook, or at least that's what we thought was going to happen with Shane Steichen, or at least we saw that Brian Johnson was going to have more control of this offense going forward, but that wasn't the case. And it's actually really sad. Coaches are leaving and getting hired immediately, even assistants. Even positional coaches are getting hired. Alex Tanney hired immediately. Brian Johnson's got 5-6 interviews. I mean, it's just nuts, dude. You would think that these guys, are in the same rap as Nick when it comes to, underusing so many players in a flawed system offensively and defensively. And Nick almost hung himself, obviously, with the front office going up to Nick and saying, hey, if you don't fire your coaches, you're going to get fired. And that was the ultimatum. The same ultimatum that was given to Doug Peterson because he wanted to hire Press Taylor as the OC. And guess what happened? Doug goes to Jacksonville as the head coach, and guess who he hires as the OC? Press Taylor. So, all that was true. The front office wanted Doug to make some outside the Eagles type moves. New blood coming to the coaching staff. Wouldn't let that happen. Doug gets canned. Doesn't matter if he's a Super Bowl champion head coach or not. And with Nick Sirianni, the same thing. Nick wanted to keep his job. I don't know what the value that we're getting out of Nick Sirianni here as being a motivational speaker or a cheerleader or something. Just throw a skirt on him with some pom-poms, and I guess that's what he's going to do this year in 2024. But I wanted a play caller at head coach. That's what I really wanted. You know what I mean? But, maybe they've designed this thing to where if Nick Sirianni is not needed after this year, or if the Eagles lose like the first 3 games of the season or something starts happening, they could fire Nick and Kellen Moore could be the next head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. It could happen. They could have set this up to where Kellen Moore tried to get this head coaching job in 21 before Nick was hired. But they barely interviewed anybody for the head coaching job, and Nick got it because Frank Reich said he's really good. You should hire him. Why not? Right? So that happened. So I don't think the hiring process is another thing that's been a disaster. And Nick hired his own coaching staff in 21 and then obviously making the changes in 22, but still had control over both playbooks. Why did Jonathan Gannon with the Cardinals come to the Eagles at Lincoln Financial Field and literally show so much pressure and so much aggressiveness with that defense I didn't even see of him even having with the Eagles in 2022? It really started to show that Nick had his hands in way too much. And playing it safe is not how the Eagles should be playing on both sides of the ball. Offensively is embarrassing for what you have, and defensively, there's no excuse for it. You know what I mean? When you're winning these gauntlet games, coming back in the second half and not doing anything in the first half, but the defense is making some stops under Desai is fine. Once you change your defensive coordinator, not only are you just changing you're just changing coaches during the year, which probably isn't the greatest idea, but thinking that Matt Patricia is going to change your defense, it's not going to happen. They weren't going to let him do that, but just hand off another playbook to another coach, which made absolutely no sense. At the time, we were kind of like, let's see what happens with this. But then when it started happening again, it just got worse, and the players ended up just quitting on these coaches after a while. If we're going to go up to the coaches behind the scenes and they don't want to change anything, then whatever. However the chips may fall is how they fall, and that's pretty much it. So that's all I got to say on the whole situation. Seems like Shawn Desa did lose a lot of respect from a lot of players as the year went on. And I think the Jeffrey Lurie and maybe the team recognized that. Nick recognized that a lot of the players were not up for Shawn Desa. And this, like I said, this is on Nick. This is Nick's hiring. They hired Shawn Desai, okay? Shawn Desai was hired to the Philadelphia Eagles because he was the closest they could have gotten to Vic Fangio. Vic Fangio left the Eagles 2 weeks before the Super Bowl in 22 because he thought that Gannon already had the job, which was there, set, stone in place. Then Gannon did some stuff behind the scenes. The illegal tampering with Arizona kind of ruined that. And look what happened. I mean, Fangio parted ways with Miami, and he was here in literally half a second. Okay, it shows you that Fangio, as a consultant in 22, was supposed to be the new defensive coordinator, which was, I guess, supposed to happen at some point. But it is what it is. So Shawn Desai, that was a Vic Fangio apprentice, okay, as a, what's it called? A defensive quality control guy under Vic Fangio with the Bears for a few years, and then Desai took over in 21 as the defensive coordinator, okay, and statistically did pretty good as a defensive coordinator. Really the only statistic, he was not really that great against the run, so their defense was. So, took less talent and made more of it what it should be. And I think Nick got involved with the defense and got way too involved in the offense, obviously. So this is all Nick Sirianni at the end of the day. This is all Nick Sirianni. And they hired Shawn Desai because he was as close as to what Vic Fangio is. But you hired the top of for the Vic Fangio scheme, you hired the actual guy that's going to be in the building. And that's as most as I could say is a good move. Not a fan of the scheme. Bend don't break. Can't stand it. But Fangio needs the right players. Nick put Desai in a situation where he had to had no idea what he was doing and put players in failed situations. Each scheme was flawed. Every position was flawed. There was no player set up for success. So how do you evaluate your roster at the end of the year and say, who do we cut? Who do we trade? Who do we re-sign? It's hard to even evaluate. How do you evaluate when your corners play off the ball so much? Like when you're just standing there defending an area, when your defensive line can't hit home, your linebacker's not playing downhill, you're not running stunts for your defensive line, you're not blitzing your linebackers, you don't know how to blitz, you don't know how to be aggressive. When you practice soft, you play soft. And that's where it got us. So that's what I have to say about that entire situation with the Eagles, with Shawn Desai, and some good things. But the good thing about this is Bobby King. Bringing in Azeez Al-Shaair as a free agent with him could be a big move for the Eagles, with some crazy statistics from last year. But we'll see what happens. Let me know what you guys think about Bobby King, Aziz Al-Shaair as a free agent from the Tennessee Titans, coming off a pretty productive year at at linebacker. And all the leaks of Shawn Desa, the disconnect. Is it all Nick Sirianni's fault? It's kind of looking like it. The more I connect the dots, it kind of is. So, he can't really escape out of this one. Going to next year, we're going to find out if Kellen Moore has full control of this play, but we're going to find out if this defense is going to change dramatically, which I think it will. But I'll see you guys on the next one. Remember, shakes what up, follows high. Peace out, guys. Peace.